Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening, I'm glad you're here. Today is going to be one of those weird knife comparison days, or a knife battle, where we take a bunch of objective, subjective points and we look at these knives, each based on specific kind of like variable points, and then we total them up. We come up with the winner. Full disclosure, both of these knives are absolutely bangers. I can't imagine one of them winning over the other. This is the Very Good Knife Company Tradition Junior, and this is the Dustin Driver Defense Splinter. Both USA made knives, both amazing knives. You could not go wrong with either one, but we're going to run it through this little list. I always get a little insight here because it shows me how subjective I am, and I just learn things, right? When you look at different stuff and you try to look at it objectively. Before I get started, I do want to say real quickly, thank you to the channel members. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to anyone who subscribes to the channel, who watches my content. I appreciate you, and I appreciate anyone who just takes the time to come in, watch a video, catch a live stream, watch the content from time to time. Thank you. So let's get started. What we've got is we've got the Driver Defense, which is a handmade knife, very low production numbers. You can get these at blade shows and an occasional drop. They're not made in any kind of numbers. Dustin makes folders, slip joints, some fixies. The Splinter is one of his smaller fixed blades. He does have a Splinter Extract, which is a little bit smaller than this. But this knife, just for practical purposes, is G10 handle, lanyard hole here, full tang, Magna Cut blade, beautiful, beautiful grind work. Starts out very, very thick, comes down very, very thin. Really nice knife. One of my favorites. I love the roomy handle. It is a little on the larger side, as both of these knives are. These would be considered primary carries for me. But this guy, when I bought it from Dustin at Blade Show, was right around 300 bucks. This is the Very Good Knife Company. This has been reviewed on the channel before. This is their Tradition Junior. The Tradition video is out today, and it is its big brother, and it's much thicker than this knife. But this is part of their fat carbon fiber series. So this one adds a little bit of value and price to this knife. So it got it closer to the Splinter, and it's about more closely sized. But this one's in Nitro V, not 80 CRV2. They use both steels. And it's got the fat carbon handle. Amazing grind. One of the most beautiful grinds I've ever seen in my life. This knife and the workmanship on these knives is second to none. I'll just go ahead and say that. And I think after shipping, this knife was like $208. Very reasonable for a handmade, USA-made knives. They both have great sheaths, but we'll get to that in a second. So the first thing we look at is materials. And guys, I'm going to be struggling here because on one hand, I've got Magna Cut. The other hand, I've got Nitro V. So it would be very easy for me to default and go with the Magna Cut. But I've got G10 handles and I've got fat carbon handles. And I know just from talking to Shane and others, the cost drivers and handles versus blade steel. So even though the Magna Cut seems like it would be more desirable, and I agree that it probably is over the Nitro V, I'm going to give these guys a push on materials because I think the handle material well exceeds, even though this is beautiful contour G10, I'm just trying to look at it, material cost, performance, all that stuff, right? G10 is going to perform just as well. I could easily say this one is got the better materials because it's Magna Cut instead of Nitro V. I don't know the intricacies differences there, and I do know that there is a price difference here. So what we'll do is we'll give nobody this point, so it just gets a little line like that. Then we go to blade grind. Blade grind, this is a tall, flat, super slicey, more of a car door piercer. This is, I mean, a freaking butter slicer. There is no comparison I can already tell you this is going to win the sliciness category. Like nobody's business. Anyway, all right, so grind. You can see here that this is a hollow grind. And what's beautiful about it is the bridge or the spine is slightly angled up so that you've got a taller area to do your hollow here than at the back. Comes down to very low behind the edge thinness. I'll get you that dimension here in just a second. But it is super, super slicey. It is an absolute, I don't skin or do any type of hunting or anything like that, but I can imagine that knife would be field dressers, fishermen's fantastic knife. So the blade grind is going to go to the Tradition Junior with a big honking one. Ergonomics. Which feels better in the hand? Ergonomics is kind of an easy one for me because it's how it feels in my hand, right? It's not how it feels in everybody's hand. It's how it feels in my hand. I love the long grip of the splinter. What I'm not crazy about for my hand is this front finger area is much bigger than my finger. So it spreads my fingers where this little knot is. The Tradition Junior has just a little rounded protrusion here. Fits my hand very well. And with this kind of angled up spine, I've got great thumb traction. They're both ergonomically excellent knives. I've got to give the point to the Tradition Junior only because, and that's never been a problem for me before. I never noticed it until I'm comparing those two. So that's something I learn when I do these crazy little comparisons, battles if you will. Carry sheath. So carry sheath, they're both set up with ulti-clips, even though one's a deep concealment, one's an ulti-clip. So what I look for is retention, rattle, there is none. Retention, rattle, there is none. So now, what happens when we push the thumb? How far does it go? Whoop. That one was popping off yesterday. Maybe, no, it was a Tradition Senior that was popping off. And that's not any indication in really anything. It just means that it's going to easily, when you go to use your finger, dig in, you're going to push it, it's going to pop out. Same thing here, you're going to push it, it's going to pop out, you're going to pull it out of your pocket. These are very, very close. There's not any reason to... I'm going to give it to the splinter. I think the sheath is a little bit more refined, a little bit more finished off. I know this is a weep hole. I know Mr. Driver does his weep holes real small there. It's kind of like a slit. Just a different way to do it. The Kydex is thicker. Not that that's a good thing or a bad thing. But if I've got to come up with a carry sheath winner, I'm going to give the more refined sheath, even though I love this sheath, to the splinter. Retention. That's what we were just talking about. Guys, these both retain perfectly. There's absolutely no movement. They're perfectly molded to the knives. They come out absolutely fine. They both got almost identical finger push-offs. As much as y'all are going to hate it, I'm giving it a push. I can't say one is definitively better than the other. Aesthetics. Probably the most subjective thing that we could do, right? I love the splinter. It looks like a little tactical tool. I love the thick, tall blade. My eyes are drawn to this grind, and on the Tradition Senior, I don't know why I find it so aesthetically pleasing. It's a unique looking knife. I don't think everybody would like this knife shape. I think this is probably more widely accepted as a beautiful knife. And it is a beautiful knife. But I think aesthetically speaking, and it's not just the carbon fiber, it's the grind, it's the belt satin that you see. It's going to go to the tradition, guys. And again, this is not scientific, and I started this video and will end this video with either one of these knives are absolutely fantastic. This one's not in my collection, but I'm in works right now to trade for one like it. I love the knife. Sliciness, do we need to do it again? I will. See if y'all can hear. Just listen for the slice. Listen for the slice. I can hear it slicing. Unlike a big honking one for the tradition on sliciness. So it is by a mile slicier, but it should be. And that's going to cost it in our next category, which is toughness, because it's not going to be nearly as tough as the splinter. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Possibly, and most importantly, is blade thickness and geometry. So you'll notice the blade on the splinter is almost twice as thick as the blade on the Tradition Junior. It's taller, it's got a thicker grind, it's got a much heavier tang, heavier handle. I could see this maybe bending if I stuck it in a car door. I could see this going straight through. Also, MagnaCut might chip before ABL, but when I look at durability, I look at if it falls, if it gets beat up. Chips are going to happen, but I just think that the splinter is going to be much more durable in the long run, which still is going to put it on the very low side of our contest here. So we had 4, and what I didn't have on here is value, which I need to add. So value, I'm going to push it, and I know they're almost $100 apart, and I know the Tradition just beat this knife in all these categories. So it seems like the Tradition's a better value. Value can change because these knives, to me, are much more scarce. I think that's why they bring what they bring, and I think resale to resale, I think the value is there. You've got MagnaCut, you've got G10, values on both of them. You've got a $92 spread. He might make 20 of these a year. I'm sure they're probably close to 100 of these. I'm going to give the value, we'll call it a courtesy give. I'm going to give it to the splinter. So we're still, the Tradition wins out 4-3. And my asterisk says it's a non-scientific comparison from a knife guy who likes weird shit but doesn't know shit. So that's just my opinions on 2 really cool, similarly sized knives that I'm a big fan of. I love these Very Good Knife Company knives. I do not own one yet. I've been lucky to have friends to let me check them out. A huge fan. Very Good Knife Company, Tradition Junior, Driver Defense, Splinter. Guys, I'm Javon. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Do me a favor, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon. If you want to be a real solid and just give me a human hug, hit that like button. Most importantly, what I ask is look out for the guy or gal to your left. Always look out for the guy or gal to your right. You never know when they might need something. Look out for each other. Go forward with love in your hearts. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.